when we were growing up at my home, our father, you may know, he was Katikkiro of Uganda. And I was born just a few weeks after he was Katikkiro of Uganda. But our father was so conscious about warning us, his children, that were his children, were not Katikkiro's children. He would lecture to us during holidays that you are maintenance Sibirwa's children, not Katikkiro's children. None of my siblings failed to learn that, or to master that lecture. We all learned to be, I think he wanted to make us humble. He tried to see that we don't assume the status which wasn't ours. And because of that, I think I grew up knowing I had no business to be a minister's wife. I was Kalema's wife.
The late Mr. Kalema was a very, very powerful political figure in the politics of both Uganda and the post-independence Uganda. Would you like to tell me how he developed from there in his political career from 1962 to maybe up to 67, 79?
Well, perhaps I should tell you that I came to know that my husband was very politically minded when we had our second child, William, the owner of this house, owner of this home. And when he was born, he was so happy. The main reason why he was so happy, that now he has got a child who's going to fight apartheid in South Africa. I had not known that he was a teacher, but I had not known that he was so concerned about the politics of South Africa and the apartheid there. Now, that is when I started to know that he was very, very political. And he used to resent the Empire Day celebration. Schools would come to Kampala to march at the Empire Day celebration. Very few can even remember now. It used to be May 24th. It was for all the colonies to celebrate the Empire Day. And he used to resent it. He said, I don't hate the British as such, but I don't like, they have developed us in many ways, giving us education, but I don't like to celebrate them. I hate it. I don't want it to go into the minds of our young people. So he became political that way. And when it's not surprising that when it was decided Uganda would send 21 representatives to Parliament, specially elected in Buganda, he joined.
Okay.
He was among the obvious one to go. And after getting there, he was very hardworking. Not only that, he was very determined person. He was a determined person, a trained teacher, and at Makerere, of Makerere teacher, they used to call him Makerere teacher, the highly trained teachers. After that, he added on a degree of economics at Edinburgh University. So, with that, he became really a strong person. He knew the economics well. He knew the politics well. Yes, he added his wish of politics to what he learned at Edinburgh.
I just wanted to find out what it meant to you to be a wife of such a high-profile politician of the time.
That meant to me.
Yeah.
It didn't make much distance. It doesn't make much difference to me. And I remember my brother saying this, but you, Rhoda, if it had been another person, she would be wearing wings. But you don't seem to care. that your husband is a minister. Yeah. I remember he said this.
But even then, you had grown into a high-profile family, like being the daughter of the late Nsibirwa. It was such a high...
I've just told you that even that our father stopped us to feel it. So it didn't make much difference to me. And we had associated very much with the Kabaka's children. Most of Kabaka's children at school, Gayaza, somewhere Gayaza at Budu. And my father was kind of a guardian to the children. So it wasn't, honor, that kind of status was not very much new to me.
So you actually grew up with Kabaka Mutesa and you...
My brothers did, because they were the same age. But more than that, I had, by the time William Kalema became a minister, I was already very active in the women's movement. I was also a civil servant in the probation and welfare services in the Ministry of Culture and Community Development. When I returned from Britain, from Edinburgh, where I did a social studies course, I was employed as a probation and welfare officer in charge of Kampala office. So I was a civil servant. I was busy. I was active in my own right, and active, voluntarily active with the women's organizations, and that was taking a lot of my time, plus my young family, our children.
Yeah.
So I didn't care much about being a minister's wife.
Yeah, that's right.
Didn't add very much. Sometimes, in fact, because of my other businesses, very often I would not be able to accompany him.
No, so, how did women manage to balance the Uganda traditional norms versus the male-dominated politics in the post-independent Uganda?
I don't know. I think again it goes back to education.
Yeah.
It goes back to education, where more girls had become educated. But had become educated, they could balance. They could balance, and their parents and their brothers would no longer look down upon them as inferior. But also in the Buganda culture, women have got a status their own, and they are not debased in the sense they are given their own role. Like, for instance, you know about the funeral rites. It is culture and custom in Buganda that there are two heirs. Always there's two heirs. Where's a man or woman who's being succeeded? There must be another person, and the other person is if it's a woman who's being succeeded, it's never a man. Again, it's a woman, Rubuga, a co-heir. I think this reminds me that Buganda has always felt women had a role and had a status, but the status equal but different. They have considered them as equal but different. And women have taken that role. Even those the educated ones, they know they are not inferior. They are just different. But in their practice, they know my husband is above me, but not because I'm inferior. It is a little bit contradictory, but it's easy to understand. The husband is above, but I'm not inferior. Maybe it's not easy to understand. That something that is below is not inferior. So we grow, I think, in Uganda, the proper girls and women who are brought up carefully with their parents bringing them up, they understand that. But the present generation is definitely different, because men have not grown up with their parents, with their mothers, and many have picked up all sorts of foreign practices in life, dress, and the rest of it. So they believe once I'm educated, I am above. They no longer want to accept that very comfortable and useful, beneficial role, status of being different from men, being different but not inferior.
Yeah. Let me ask you again, we go to the Idi Amin era. How would you describe Uganda under Idi Amin?
I think Idi Amin, after taking over the country, as he did, I didn't know how he planned it, he found himself that he needed civilians to run the country. That's how he picked permanent secretaries and made them ministers here and there, all permanent secretaries, just converted them into ministers. Then he realized the army cannot do business. He realized, he must have realized, in my opinion, he must have realized now to run a country needs a sound economy. But yet he realized again, I cannot depend on the Asians with the way I've come into power. I need to appease the Africans. I need to appease the Africans to come in and take over the economy. And in his understanding, his own wording, he called it economic war. And the way he did it was to grab. He believed the only way he would do is to rob. What he thought he was doing the right thing, get the Asians out of the way, and then the property and the money will come in the hands of Africans. And then I'll be able to rule the country with the Africans when they have money. Not knowing they can't keep the money they had not worked for.
At that time, as a woman, and especially being the wife to such a high-profile person, how did you manage to live under Idi Amin, especially considering that her husband had worked with Obote?
Amin killed my husband exactly a year after he grabbed power. William Kalema was kidnapped and killed on the 20th following year, January 1972. He was driving about 6:30, taking a relative from our house back to Kansanga. He was waylaid from Nakasero. He didn't realize it. Most likely he didn't realize it. And when they got to the corner of Kabagara police station, that's when they stopped him. Another car came and they stopped him. I came to know that later, and I don't know more from that time. The challenge was how I stayed there. I came to know that Amin did not. This is the experience of many people. He didn't persecute relatives. He didn't persecute anyone after he had, for his reasons, after he had killed people he thought he was a threat. He didn't bother about persecuting anybody whom he thought wasn't a threat. The same thing with the other ministers who were in Obote's government. Nkutu, Ojera, and the rest. Except Bataringaya, which was a story later, some a year later or so. Except Bataringaya, where his wife was also killed. But I can't tell why. Whether it was Amin, they said were the generals or the brigadiers in Mbarara who maybe wanted to kill Messi Bataringaya as well. I don't know. But anyway, on the whole, he didn't persecute the relatives. And it was not, that doesn't mean to say that I was comfortable. We are all the time not knowing what's coming next. So I lived under great fear for quite a number of years, but I had to take care of my children. My youngest dear friend, Gladys, was 2 years. She had just turned 2 years. And 12 days later, her father died. So I had to take care of my younger children and to see that my older children also, 2 of them had joined university, William and his sister. And I had the comfort of my brothers and friends and my other relatives, like Justice Wambuzi, who was also in a queer position. He was in government, and yet he was my brother-in-law, and yet here he is, and he could not be given any story about his brother-in-law, but I had people like friends of Kalema, like James Mwana, Sam Rutega, Mzee Nelson Sebugwao, the grandfather of Nabagereka, who had been with us for many years before. They continued to be faithful to us, to be faithful to the family, and on and on and on. But I kept underground. I didn't continue with women's work. I didn't continue with anything.
Would you say that there has been substantial achievement in women advancement in politics, economic issues, and social status in the last 50 years? And if so, to what extent do you think there has been?
Yes, I think there have been substantial progress in all those areas you have mentioned. Economic progress has been there. Many women have come out to be more economically independent and to go into business. Although a lot of them sometimes I feel a little bit misguided. But also the insecurity in the country, where a lot of men were killed, husbands were killed, or went into exile. All this made many wives to have to fend for themselves and their children, and widows. So that also they had to go into to see how they can live.
Yeah.
That prompted them. The need prompted them to go into to join the economic field.
Yeah.
And politics. Yes, more women have joined politics, but this came particularly after the affirmative action.
Yeah.
Not many women were ready to go into politics because it wasn't very safe. And many women, I must say this, those who are in government on the affirmative action are there because there was a privilege, there was a conveyor, so they sat on the conveyor and went into parliament.
Yeah.
Not because they were convinced that they had to go and take and fight for the political development of the fellow women or of the country.
Yeah. So tell me what later motivated you to actively participate in the liberation of this country.
Well, when my husband was picked and killed, I felt when normality came back. But to start with, yes, when normality came back, I thought, I just felt I had to go and see whether I can offer myself in the political arena, on the political arena, because we start with 1979.
Yes.
When the liberators came in here, but you were here.
Yeah, I was.
The liberators came, and when they came, they said, after some months, we shall include in the National Consultative Council some people who stayed in Uganda. to come and join us and be able to form a parliament.
Yeah.
A parliament which was to be called National Consultative Council. Because as you may remember, realize, Amin abolished the parliament.
Yeah.
When he abolished parliament, parliament was to be reinstated after a process, which process was done in 1994-95.
Yeah.
So there was no parliament. I gave myself for that. It was done in a very simple way. They said each district will bring in 3 people. And I offered myself to go into to represent Kampala. I was with the Honorable late Henry Kayondo, was a lawyer, and I was with Lakidi. What is his first name?
I know Lakidi.
Lakidi. 3 of us represented Kampala because Mubende, where I was, there were two people to represent Mubende, and I represented Kampala. So as I was in that one, at the end of National Consultative Council, then time came when, that was 1979, as I was in that one, then is when Bidandi Sali was also there, and that's when I came to know a lot of these people, the liberators, like Honorable Kategaya, Kamuntu, late Karugire, Hakana Ruzinda. That's the first time to meet them. They were much younger than some of them had been with my son in Zimbabwe, in Zambia. And then we formed UPM. We said we want to go. We who didn't believe we should go with UPC or DP, we formed UPM. So it is the UP, and then Museveni also joined us later, by the way, and we said you will be our leader. I went to Bishop Kauma to ask him to woo him for UPM, and he said, but my dear Mrs. Kalema, that we cannot join Museveni because we can't join anything with Museveni. That is communism. He's a communist. We are not. We are going to. We want to vote UPC, and we can't vote communism. And you shouldn't join the communists. I'm sorry, you are. I tell you the truth. We are not going to go. So the Namirembe Church voted for DP.
But against UPC again?
Against UPC again.
What led to your arrest again?
I don't know, but I think the UPC were angry with me. They were angry with me that I was UPC, that I had deserted them. But mainly, when I was in the NCC, I used to raise questions. Particularly, do you remember the doctors who were killed in Kampala? Dr. Bagenda, Dr. Kamregea, and then that same man who killed those people seems to have, and Dr. Barrow, particularly Dr. Barrow, because for him I knew him very well from the family. His father is my teacher. The whole family is known to me. So I thought afterwards that I think I raised the question in Parliament when the Minister of Internal Affairs, who was then late Paulo Muwanga, explained to the Parliament, to the NCC, the Parliament of the time, that the man escaped. That man who was arrested, I think I remember his name was Samakula. He escaped from a security prison, from maximum security prison. And we knew this man was being charged for killing the Baha'i family in Kikaya and these 3 doctors. He was among the people, he was suspicious, he was very, very, he was charged for that, for those murders, and he was put in maximum security. Now, when we asked why it happened, and I remember Minister of Internal Affairs circulated a reason explaining that he was allowed out to have lunch, to have his lunch outside his cell, and by mistakes he escaped. So I think I remember I asked the chairman, then the speaker was called chairman, that it was a Rugumayo.
Rugumayo, that was Rugumayo.
I said, this is very, in similar words, that we are not satisfied, that a person who is charged with a crime of that nature could even be allowed to eat his food outside instead of in the cell. So it is not surprising. We are not satisfied, Mr. Chairman. It is not very satisfactory answer by the minister. I came to know later on that the concerned minister thought Rhoda believes I killed the people. Rhoda killed the doctors. Rhoda believes I killed the doctors. So, since he was Minister of Internal Affairs, it's possible that was the reason. Because people picked me from my house.
How did it happen? Tell me the story of how they arrested.
They picked me up from my house at Nakasero one evening.
Then they took you where?
They took me to Nile Mansions. They blindfolded me, and I was moved in a pickup with a soldier driving and another soldier on my left. They drove me throughout the night. I didn't know where I would go. And there was actually another pickup. I could see before they put a cloth on my eyes. I could see another pickup behind me with some guns, with a number of guns. So I didn't know what was going to happen. I knew I wouldn't leave the following morning. And found myself in the Katabi barracks following day. Following morning, I was in Katabi. Entebbe Road. And then they put up the cloth. They took me to another place in Entebbe, another barracks, kind of a place for the army. There's another place in Entebbe, which I don't know well. And that's where they took off the cloth of my eyes, about 8 a.m. And finally, I was in Katabi for a week, and after a week, I was transferred to Zira prison for about 7 weeks. It came to be 7 weeks. Had my son not come from Britain, maybe I could have been there for much longer.
So how did they release you? They struggled and...
My son came from London.
William?
His younger brother. They discussed it. And he was in America. So Peter said, unless he had just started a job in London, he said, I'm nearer, let me go. Let me go, you can stay, because he was in far away in America. He had been there in a job for a long time. So they first wrote to Obote and said, we wouldn't like our mother to be killed like our father. And finally he came. I didn't know he had come. Then he came and went to Justice Wambuzi and made an appointment with Obote. Justice Obote gave them an appointment to meet him in Entebbe. And one morning, I was there, not knowing anything. I saw Canon Nyanyumba, the late Canon Nyanyumba. I didn't know him then that was his name. Later I came to know him. And we were all worried because we were looking through the window in our prison. There were other women, prisoners of war like me. And we didn't know what to next. We said, what next? Now they sent a very big man, a very big army soldier to come. What is going to happen? The wardress opened the door, said, Rhoda Kalema, come out. You are going. They want you. And I didn't know where they was taking me. I didn't know.
You picked your clothes?
How many clothes did I have? I have a few clothes, yes. Someone had gone home and smuggled in a few clothes for me. And a small towel and some few things I needed. She smuggled them in for me. This lady used to come to bring prisoners to court. And she said to me, can you tell me where Mrs. Wams's house is? I'll go and get something for you. So the little I had, I didn't pick anything because they should. I got out as I was in bedroom slippers.
And they didn't charge you for anything?
No. When you are a prisoner of war, you are not charged. We didn't go to court. In fact, when we were transferred from Katavi to Luzira prison, the wardresses said to me, one said, you Mrs. Kalema? Yes. Who are you? I'm Alice. Don't you know me? My cousins studied with your son at Budo. Incidentally, if you have, this is a very long, is a very interesting story, because this Alice was a niece of the matron of my dormitory at Budo. When Alice's mother died when she was being born, Miss Eskamwase, the aunt of Alice, after burying her sister, brought Alice, a 2 weeks baby, to school. And she took care of Alice. We used to go, because her room was at the bottom, at the end of the dormitory. So I enjoyed Alice very much. We used to go and help her with Alice, feeding her, bathing her, whenever we were off on Saturdays. And Alice grew up in our hands. Now, her aunt used to talk about me a lot. And she used to talk about me a lot, her aunt. That's how I come later on. It's like a fairy story. It's like a fairy story. This was 1940s.
Yes.
And now I come in 1981.
Yes.
For Alice as a wardress in a women's prison.
Oh my God.
And she would bring me a kilo of sugar.
And she
from
organized you?
She organized me. She had been seeing me now and again somehow, because her cousins were studying with William at Budo. Somehow she knew me. So that is also, that adds to your story. It's very interesting.
Very interesting.
People can't tell all that they've known.
That's right. So when you are released, where do you go?
I wasn't released fairly like that. They drove me to Minister Rhoda Kalema, who is the Minister of Internal Affairs. They put me in another car, and I was driven to Entebbe. When I went to Entebbe State House, I was laid in a room, and I had no idea whatsoever that Justice Wambuzi, who is my brother-in-law, and my son were in that room. When they opened, I saw Peter, I saw Justice Wambuzi. Peter wept. When I see him weeping, I wept. And after a few minutes later on, Obote came in. The President Obote came in. And he said to me, he don't want, your son wants, here Justice Wambuzi, they want you released. I do not stop you from going on with your subversive activities. You can do what you like. But you can go home and you can carry on with your subversive activities. So I said to him, President, I wasn't doing any subversive activities. I'd like to tell you one thing. I didn't have any subversive activities because I was arrested from my house. And he said, oh, where? But you must leave your passport here. Leave your passport to, ask me to may give it to the so and so. There was, I think, an officer there. You leave your passport. I said, but I have two. I'll give both passports to him. One was a diplomatic passport, and I had my ordinary one before I became a minister. So I'll give both of the passports to him, to them. And he said, I've never known this. I've never known anyone who can declare that he has two passports. Rhoda, you could have just declared one passport and give that one in and leave the other. I've never known anybody who can declare, who can say he has two passports. If Obote had wanted to put that down in writing, to write it somewhere, he was amazed. And I said goodbye to him. And I remember he gave me some rolls of clothing. There must have been some clothing in the State House to give to people who had been so poor in the north, maybe. And they gave me some rolls of clothing. That was the end of that.
So, but you had been friends with your UPM friends. Museveni was in the bush now. Then, didn't they try to contact you and say, why don't you join us?
That's a very interesting question, because one day I met a man who said, I've been asked to come to ask you to go and join them. I said to him, do you know, I'll not join for one reason. I have a young family. It is not, won't be responsible of me to leave my young family. So I will not come. I never saw that man again, even after the war. Possibly he died. So I didn't go. But he told me whether it was correct or not, whether he was really being sent or not, I didn't know. But I said I cannot go. I have my young family.
So finally, when the war ended, you you are one of the people who went into NRC.
Yes.
Were you chosen as an individual? Or you?
When the war ended, it took some. Actually, the NRM came in 1986 beginning. Yeah. Now, I also went back to my home in Kiboga by then, and I found there's so much destruction. There had been so much destruction. The schools had lost roofs. Houses I used to see on the road, very nice houses, didn't have roofs, they had fallen down. There was so much destruction along the way. So I said, but something must be done. I remember Amanya Mashega was Minister of Local Government, and I had known him. So I used to go to him and say, Amanya, something must be done about this. Something must be done about this. Something must be. Now NRM has come back. It is now going on to 3 years. Something must be done. And one day he said to me, Rhoda, we are going to have to hold elections, but there will be simple elections because we don't have money to plan proper elections. There will be elections of lining behind. And we won't give people much time for campaign. We would like people who are trusted in the area, who will just go within 2 weeks and tell people, I want to stand. We are going to arrange a very simple elections. People will line behind. It is not going even to be one is no political party. We are not interested. We are not going in to say one must be NRM. One must have been one UPM or whatever. So if you are interested in helping people in Kiboga, this is he gave me. I'm telling you, Rhoda, if you want to help people in Kiboga, stand. Go and stand. Go and stand and they line behind you. So I attempted. People had been seeing me for some time. And they had come back to live with them after 5 years. And that's how I won. 2 of us stood. And I got more. I got 3/4 and he got a quarter. About 400. And it was through the people who lined were LC ones and LC. They called college.
Then you were made a minister.
I was made a minister of public service and cabinet affairs, deputy minister.
So finally, what do you think women have achieved?
I think what women have achieved with confidence, they have achieved confidence. But women, women have achieved confidence, or generally, because of the education, which is countrywide, although some areas are very, very poor, like the north, which suffered for 20 years. 20 years, and a bit of the east. But generally, that's what I said generally. Education has made a lot of difference to the women. But also, may get some rain. But also, women I am more interested, and I'm more interested in saying that maybe it's the education which has made a lot of more women to be conscious of the needs of other women, of other people and women. And this has brought in a new breed of NGOs of women. I think I would like to say, without an apology, that the women in the NGOs have done a greater job for the development of the women and the country than the women in parliament.
Yes.
In spite of the status and the status of parliament and status of women in parliament. Because the women like Fawe, Akford, there's ISIS, Weso died a natural death, it seems to me, or it is very, very not real function, because I started a branch in Kiboga also, but the West as an organization, which was led by the First Lady, Mrs. Museveni, doesn't seem to be in the ground anymore. Now, then there was Forward, which we started when we ended the Constituent Assembly. All those organizations are concerned about the development of women, development of girls. There's also out Makere, another one for women's higher education. So I think those and UNET, Uganda Women's Network, which also takes all the women and finds out the development of women and their needs and the problems and how to work about them. So I think, in my opinion, the women and FIDA. There are about 6-7 organizations which have been very significant in raising the standards of women and the welfare of women and the life of women and the life of society in general, the life of society in general. And they've done a very good job. That has helped to raise the women, because all of these have been very much interested in girls' education, here or there, or here or there. Because women, even girls in the rural areas, have been given facilities to continue with the education, or to go beyond S4 to S6 or to university by FAWE, Forum for Women, for African Women Educationists, and Oxford and the rest. I think those have done a very good job. And I pray that the women in Parliament should really continue, should really realize the challenge of why they are there on affirmative action as women, because their seats are not contested by another man. They are contested by only the women. And if they had been contested by another man, they may not be able to get in. They won't have the guts, they won't have the ability, and in many other ways. So I pray that women, whoever want to go into Parliament, should really consider that they have at heart the lives of the women, of the children, and of society.
Thank you very, very much. We are quite